So this afternoon we are going to share on these methods, that is palm oil, palm kernel oil for frying, baking, as well as for special effects. So this is the outline of my presentation, which will cover the sources of oil and fats, cooking oil, margarines, and also special effects. So ladies and gentlemen, just to recap what we have been eating since probably this morning, that we can say that almost all food that we consume contain fat, right from the fried products to the cake, to the ice cream, to cake and many things, except probably for vegetables. But these are the everyday life that we have been undergoing, that all food contains oil and fats. And when I'm saying fat, it does not refer to animal fat only, but basically maybe oils and also solid oil. So why oil and fat is present in our food? It's just because of this as a medium for heat transfer. Basically, when we are frying, when we are cooking using oil, the heat from heat source is being transferred to the food to cook the food. That the oil functions as to convey the heat to the food and then cook the food. And as physical properties of the food. So basically, if we can recall back when we are eating ice cream during our younger days, the ice cream, the meltdown, the freshness of the ice cream that we feel is basically is being supported by the presence of the oil or fats in the ice cream, or in chocolate, or in margarine. So basically, maybe we have the experience when we take out our margarine from the refrigerator. It's hard like rock, and sometimes it is good and it's spreadable. It is the fat that contribute to these physical properties. The quality, the biscuit that we are consuming sometimes becomes soggy in just few days after we consume it or after we get it from the shop. And some biscuit is just crispy and good. So it's because of the fat that is present as the filler that will prevent the food or the biscuit from being soggy. As a source of essential fatty acid, certain fatty acid need to be consumed, such as linoleic acid, carrier of oil-soluble vitamins, such as vitamin A, vitamin D, E, and K, all those requires fat that is transporting all these we call oil-soluble vitamins to our body. As a bulk supply of energy, you know that fat is supplying 9 kilocalories as compared to protein, and also carbohydrate is only 4 kilocalories. So, ladies and gentlemen, all these good things that we are consuming every day comes from either from plant-based, from animal, or from fishes. So, just to mention here, maybe I'm repeating again what has been shown this morning. Palm oil is from the plant. It is fruit oil. It's from the fruit, and similar to olive oil, also from fruit, and also coconut oil probably. And palm oil is semi-solid. Olive is liquid, but it is of a greater amount of monounsaturates as compared to coconut oil, is basically saturated fatty acid. So from the seed oil, they are basically liquid oils. From sunflower, soybean, canola, cottonseed, they are all liquid oils. And from animals such as tallow or milk fat or lard from swine, also from fish. So if you can check back that these oils are present in solid, in semi-solid, and in liquid. So ladies and gentlemen, the chemical properties of this oil, basically we are talking about the fatty acid composition of this oil and fats, and the distribution of this fatty acid in the triacyl skeleton that contributes to the physical properties of this oil and fat, whether it becomes liquid, semi-solid, or solid. And these physical properties contributed to the functional properties or functionalities of this fat in our food system. In this oil that we have mentioned before, it has liquid, solid, and semi-solid, and palm oil by itself. Originally, it is semi-solid. By fractionation, we can get palm oil, which is in liquid form. We call it as palm oil, and palm stearin, which is solid, and also this from the kernel oil, which is palm kernel oil, which is semi-solid but has sharp melting properties. The liquid portion of the kernel oil, we call palm kernel oil, which is liquid, and solid from palm kernel stearin. So all these fractions of palm oil can contribute to several functionalities that we are going to discuss today. Just to mention here, so this graph is basically the tools that we are using normally, we call in the results of nuclear magnetic resonance test, where this is actually the solid content of palm oil, which is having high solid at low temperatures, but completely melted at 20 degrees Celsius or 22 degrees Celsius. But palm oil is a little bit higher and only melted at about 37 degrees Celsius or 36 degrees Celsius. Whereas palm oil, which is palm stearin, which is solid, is having higher solid fat content. This is palm impression. So from these properties, we can use directly as cooking oil, or we can blend it into the products like margarine for cheese making, or for margarine that is used for baking, margarine that is used for pastries. So these are the technologies that we have in Malaysia on palm oil that we can convey to you in Vietnam. So ladies and gentlemen, the liquefaction of palm oil, that is palm oil, is used for cooking. So basically when we are talking about refined oil or cooking oil, it should be tasteless, odorless, clear, free from free fatty acid, free from contaminants, and this oil should also be protected from contaminants, from water that may cause hydrolysis, from extreme heat that may cause heat deterioration, and also from oxygen or air that may cause oxidative deterioration. This has been mentioned before by the earlier speakers, that oil and fat can undergo oxidation that led to off flavors when we are using it as for frying, or even when we store it like that. This is due to the photo-oxidation by the light, or due to the enzyme that causes enzymatic oxidation, or auto-oxidation, that is the chemical composition of the fatty acid that is unsaturated that led to the auto-oxidation process, and hydrolysis due to the water content or moisture content in the oil. So what I'm going to show you here is, I'm calling you to imagine when we are doing frying activities. Imagine that this is the oil in a pot, and this is the oil line, and this is heat source. When you are throwing your donut here, what happens? When you throw, aeration takes place. Air goes in, and air contains oxygen, and this oxygen may cause oxidation. And some of the material that is present in the donut will solubilize into the oil. This will also cause changes of color in the oil, and some absorption of the materials into the oil also, into some absorption of the oil into the donut. And the moisture that is present in the donut will, due to the high temperature, it boils off, and it comes out from the donut, and it is trapped in the oil, and this moisture causes hydrolysis, and finally free fatty acid, diglyceride, monoglyceride form in the oil. So all this causes deterioration in the process of cooking and frying in all oil and fat. And heating also can cause all this dimerization and also all this deterioration. And the rate of deterioration depends on the type of oil that you are using. So for oil and fat that has very high content of unsaturation or polyunsaturated oil, it will deteriorate, or it will oxidize 3 times faster as the oil that's monounsaturated. And those which is polyunsaturated is 2 double bond, is 2 times faster in the rate of oxidation as compared to those of the monounsaturated. So this oxidation then lead to the formation of hydroperoxide, carbonyl formation, dimerization, and polymerized product. So, ladies and gentlemen, so I've mentioned this now, that the type of oil that you are using, that will determine the rate of deterioration in your oil and fat that you're using for cooking. So this is a general feature of the different composition of oil fatty acid in the oil that we have commercially. So palm oil is basically half, 50% of saturated, or we call 48%, and 50% of unsaturated as compared to other oil. And we are going to show how stable palm oil is as compared to other unsaturated oil. So this is done in MPOB. We are showing you the peroxide development during the 5 days frying activities between palm oil and soybean oil, and the blends of soybean oil and palm oil. As shown here, that palm oil has the most stability in the development of peroxide value, in the development of polar component. That is the breakdown of the fatty acids during frying activities, as I have shown just now, and also the polymer development of the oil during frying. So this is for 5 days frying activities, and this is in the continuous frying, in the continuous fryer. So what I'm showing you is not that clear probably, but we are talking about this palm oil and cottonseed oil, sunflower oil, and canola oil. So basically palm oil, which is palm oil, which is dark here, and as compared to other oil, it is the formation of polymer is the lowest, and also in the formation of polymeric compound, palm oil also has shown the lowest in 56 hours frying in the continuous fryer. Let's see in the baking fat. So when we are talking about palm oil, when we are talking about fat or solid oil, so basically the function of oil is to provide tenderness or lubricant to the cake that we are baking or to the food that we are baking. And while the solid fat is acting as a structure. If you are talking about building, so solid fat becomes like pillar, while the oil, it becomes like the walls and all the things that is present in your building. So in fats in cake, better, this is in cake, when we are baking the cake, what happens is that fat will incorporate air and provide emulsifying properties. So, and also it holds liquid. So we are talking about formulation. The formulation of margarine is solid and liquid oils, and the fat will hold the liquid oil that will increase the cake softness, and it will shorten or interrupt the gluten continuity. So gluten is a protein that is present in wheat, and it will become long chain of gluten when it is mixed with water when we are making the dough. But the presence of fat is basically to shorten this gluten, and then it will provide the tenderness of the crumb. So again, when we are doing the creaming activities, the liquid and solid ratio in the margarine is very important, because sufficient liquid will envelop the air bubbles here, and a sufficient crystalline fat is also important that will stabilize the system. And what is good is that in palm oil, which is normally present in beta prime crystal type, it is very effective in stabilizing the air bubbles, as shown here. So if you are imagining this, this is the air. So the fat or the oil will envelop these air bubbles, and the ability of the fat to envelop the bubbles and to form the structure during baking, that will create the good volume of the cake. So in palm oil, we can formulate using 100% palm oil base to produce a cake that is good in softness and tender. And why? Because palm oil presence in beta prime crystal. You cannot see the crystal here, but so fine crystal that is able to envelop the bubbles of the air during whipping process. So for general purpose margarine, we can also produce margarine for general purpose, for cake and also for normal cooking. For shortening, we can use palm oil at 100% level for bread making. And palm oil is able to ensure the optimum baking performance of the baked product, because the proportion of the solid to liquid is very close to the requirements of a good margarine, and the small crystal structure that assists in the envelopment of the crystal on the bubbles. And for puff pastry, the important thing in puff pastry is the ability to laminate the dough. That is the formation of alternate layers between the dough and the fan. So the lift of the film, it depends on the pressure of the steam that is trapped between the layers of the dough during baking. So palm oil-based pastry margarine is able to form the continuous film between the dough and the other dough. So it is separating the two layers of doughs. And when it's baked, it can form this good lift. And we can produce pastry margarine with 100% palm oil based. On shortening, similarly on the palm based pastry shortening, we can also, palm oil also can be used as 100% base pastry shortening for the good pastry leaf as shown here. And basically, if you have the margarine production line that is having the back pressure of 60 bar, more than 60 bar, and a resting tube, you can either produce shortening, pastry shortening, or pastry margarine. So the same machine can be used to produce both products. For short pastry, so the ability of the fat to cut or to shorten the gluten then is important here. So having palm-based pastry shortening, that assists in the dough handling, and the product is more crumbly, and also it melts in mouth. So the important thing in product like baking product or biscuit is the ability of the fat to form film that will prevent the uptake of the moisture from the atmosphere that may cause sogginess, and also the loss of moisture from the food product to the atmosphere that will prevent the drying out of the product. So the presence of good oil or good margarine or shortening in this food product will ensure the good quality of the food product. In specific fat, so we have gone from the liquid uses of palm oil to the semi-solid uses of palm oil. Then we go to the very hard fat that is present in chocolate making. So if you are talking about chocolate, just imagine, I don't know whether it's Kit Kat is very popular here, but it's popular among children in our country. So when we are talking about Kit Kat, so the snap of the Kit Kat is very important. So when we snap, it snap is actually from the fat that is present in the chocolate. So when we are talking specific fat, this is basically a fat that is able to substitute cocoa butter and also milk fat. And due to the price of cocoa butter and also milk fat nowadays, the demand of specific fat is growing. And this is for chocolate making, for ice cream making, for non-dairy creamer, and for infant formula. And if you are a trader or we are a manufacturer, then the right choice of fat is very important, because it will determine the right product texture in chocolate making. So basically, when we are talking about chocolate, it is in bar form, in table form, chocolate shells, or filled chocolates. or even the pan chocolate, the round chocolate. And we are talking about chocolate that is able to produce such kind of product. And normally cocoa butter is the best. But since cocoa butter is very expensive, now we have to look for an alternative. So the best alternative is of course palm kernel oil or coconut oil. But palm kernel oil, due to the presence of the long chain fatty acid, 18-1, and also carbon 6 and carbon 10, it is able to present a product that will stand up during the hot summer. So the chocolate should be able to stand up during winter as well as hot summer. But if you are talking about coconut oil, it is much softer normally, even though it's one of the best alternative to cocoa butter. That's why palm kernel oil now is becoming very important as the low type of confectionery fat. Palm kernel oil, the first fraction, this palm kernel oil, can then be fractionated into kernel olein and kernel stearin. So palm kernel oil normally has melting point of 25 to 7. So this is a good raw material for the normal or most of the specific fat. While palm kernel olein, which is softer or more liquid, is good for the filling products or even in ice cream. And palm kernel stearin, which is harder than palm kernel oil, it has melting point of, it contains, it is hard at 25 degrees Celsius and below, but it is having very sharp melting properties at more than 30 degrees Celsius, and this becomes a very good alternative for chocolate making, for the coating of ice cream, for the snap of the chocolate. So this is when we are talking about the tools or solvent profile that we use in determining a good chocolate or a good margarine or a good shortening. So still the solvent content. So if it is hard like this, meaning to say that it has a wide range of temperature stability for a certain temperature condition, then it is able to snap easily. So this can be used for chocolate making, and for the lower side it can be used for ice cream making or for the chocolate spread. Ladies and gentlemen, just now we are talking about snapping. So, and the important thing in chocolate making also is in the ability of the oil to assist in the molding, because when chocolate is being molded, then it should be released from the mold. So the ability of the fat to assist in the molding is also important. So this can be obtained from using palm kernel oil. So to increase the usefulness of palm oil, then we can carry out the process of fractionation again, and also hydrogenation, fully hydrogenated palm kernel oil, or fully hydrogenated palm kernel stearin, which has no trans fatty acid. This can be used in the chocolate making for the good snap and also for the coating. So this is the solid fat profile I have mentioned just now. When it has a solid fat content of more than 90%, between 10 degrees and 25 degrees Celsius here, so this will ensure that the fat can assist in the snapping of your chocolate and also the crispiness of your ice cream coating, for example. So the lower the IB or the harder the fat of palm kernel stearin, then will assist in the good quality of your chocolate. This will be able to reduce the formation of bloom, or bloom is like fat migration on your chocolate. So if your oil is correct, then the blooming problem will be reduced. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm given only 20 minutes. So basically the suitability of specific fat in selected food products. The compound and coating chocolate is from palm kernel oil. It replaces cocoa butter completely. It can replace cocoa butter completely. Tempering is not required as compared to other fat. Crystallizes rapidly, and it provides good molding properties in chocolate molding. Produces chocolate with excellent gloss, retention, meaning that there is no problem of blooming, good melting properties and excellent flavor release in your chocolate, produces hard and good snack chocolate but melt easily in the mouth, and produces heat stable chocolate that can withstand warm climate. So the last one is that the important thing is that our chocolate will not melt on your hand, but it melts in your mouth. So ladies and gentlemen, as a take-home message, palm oil and palm kernel oil products are versatile ingredients in food preparation and food manufacture. And the fractionation process will produce palm stream of various hardness as healthy alternative to hydrogen oils, and palm oil is a stable oil for cooking. And the continuous R&D is being carried out in MBOB as well as universities that will create opportunities for improvement of palm oil-based food for the food industry and for the world. Again, we are inviting you to People 2030 in November. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your kind attention.